Hello, welcome to or welcome back to my channel. My name is Christine and I like to read dark and disturbing things. Today I have a different type of video for you. I'm going to be reading Splatterpunk or extreme horror for the first time. So let's just get into it. Okay, so the idea for this has been rattling around in my head for a couple months now, and I keep waiting for like a good time, like, oh, as soon as I finish this or that, I'm gonna do a whole week of this. And guess what? If I don't make it happen, it's not gonna happen. That's just where we're at. This all started with being in a horror book group on Facebook and seeing a lot of books like this one being posted. So a lot of really graphic, extreme looking covers, and I was like, I've never read anything like that. And I honestly did not even know that there was a different thing called extreme horror or splatterpunk. And I just thought everything like it's horror or it's, it's not. And so I was like, I've never really read anything quite like that, which might be a lie because I have read Jack Ketchum's The Girl Next Door, which is considered extreme horror, but I feel like that's because it is actually based off of a true story. So I'm talking about a lot of super, I don't know if you can see because it's so shiny, but there's a couple by Aaron Beauregard. I've seen this, and I think the other one's called The Playground, and several other books that I was just like, man, that looks disgusting and awesome. And I wonder if I would be into it. So what I'm going to do is I have made a list of books. This is the only one I've purchased a physical copy of, but I have several that I've got on my Kindle Unlimited, which by the way, has a ton of extreme horror little novellas on there. And I'm just going to read them back to back for a week and see how it goes, see if this is something I'm into. So my concern is that these are going to be like gross out stories for the sake of being really gross and not have any plot. And I'm not gonna really be into that, I don't think. And my other concern is that I don't know that I could be grossed out. I might live to regret those words. So my conception of what extreme horror is going to be that it's super gross, super violent, and probably like hypersexual in some books. And yeah, I don't know. I'm interested to see if I'm wrong of what my conception is going to be and what happens. And I'm also think I'm a little bit hard to gross out. I am a healthcare worker, so a lot of body horror, while it does kind of creep me out like sometimes, but I've heard people say that they are literally gagging trying to read some of these things, and I just don't see that happening. I could be wrong. I guess we'll find out. I think probably the thing that will disturb me the most is if there's super violent like essay scenes. That's probably going to be like my tipping point, as I couldn't make it through Clockwork Orange because of that, and I think The Hills Have Eyes too. I just turned it off after a certain scene. Those are things that really disturb me, but we will see. So what I have is The Slob. I also have Woom. I've seen that one posted a lot. Dead Inside, Chainsaw Hooker, Talia, and I just wrote down Bloodbath, and I have a feeling that's short for something that I will post up here because I don't remember. So I haven't done a whole lot of looking into what these books are about. I just want to go in, surprise me, and see what happens. So I will be checking in as I read some of these and let you know what I think, if Splatterpunk is for me or not. Hey, I'm just checking in. So I started off with reading, this was the one I couldn't remember the name of, and I had gotten this in my Abominable Book Club box, and this is Psychic Teenage Bloodbath by Carl John Lee. It's only about 200 pages, and I'm at about a page 140 already. I am really enjoying this one so far. This one is about two girls that are friends that are interested in each other, but this is 1978, so they can't go to a dance together. So they decide to go to a dance with two other guys just so they can go, and they fully intended on kind of bailing and taking off together. So they kind of go in another room to make out, and they're found by some bullies at their school, and things just escalate from there. One of the girls ends up in a coma, and after about a year, she develops this power where she can kind of take over other people and exact her revenge on them. There's a lot of violence. There is a lot of like bathroom humor, grossness going on. So far, it's a pretty good time if you can suspend your belief and just kind of go with the flow. The other thing is that this one actually had like a foreword in the beginning of the book by Judith Sonnet, who is the author of Chainsaw Hooker, which is one of the other books I had planned on checking out for this little kind of readathon thing I'm doing. And yeah, so I will check in when I finish this. And yeah, I plan on starting the Slob soon. I did start Talia just a little bit, and that one is... I'm getting to the part where it's about to get really violent. So I will check in a little bit and let you know what's been going on. Hi, so I have had a little time before I go to work today. I usually work like 12-hour shifts, so today is like my short shift. So I have a little bit of time before I get to work, and so I did start the Slob. I about halfway through this book, and so far it has been a lot of just kind of backstory. It hasn't really gotten into anything disgusting just yet, but I just got to the part where she arrived at this guy's house. So basically our main character, she's trying to make a little bit of extra money. She found out she's pregnant, and she's already working as a cleaning lady at a hotel. She is a very like clean person because she grew up in kind of like a hoarding situation when she was younger, and so she can't handle to have any kind of dirt in her house. So she decides to get this job selling like this vacuum cleaner door to door. It sounds like it's like a deep cleaner, like a rug cleaner. And she gets to this guy's house kind of out in the middle of nowhere, and I think things are about to get disgusting because I didn't realize that this book has pictures, but here is the picture at the beginning of my chapter. So obviously things are about to go downhill really quick, I think, and get disgusting. So about halfway into it, I will check in again and let you know how it's going. All right. So I went to read the Slob, and it looks like something has gotten to my book. And then, hey, Sprocket, what happened here? Was that Tasty? Yeah, she looks innocent, but it wasn't me, was it, ma'am? So she never really chews on anything, but of course the first time she did, it was on a book, but that's okay. At least it wasn't one of my special edition books, so I'm going to be getting back into this. All right, so I've read a little bit more of the Slob, and as soon as she gets to the house of this person that she just knows as the Slob, things go downhill really, really quickly. There's just gore everywhere, and it's not really disturbing me, and I think it's because it's almost like told in a very detached way. It almost seems like it's being told from the main character, but as if she's talking about it in a past tense thing, and it's just all very matter of fact. And for me, that's not very scary or creepy, because I'm not really feeling the fear. It's just like, and then this happened, and then this happened. And yes, definitely read trigger warnings before you read this. Probably if you could think of any trigger warning, it's probably going to be in here. But yeah, it's not really creeping me out, and it's not really having like a huge effect on me. And like I said, I think it's just because it's being told in such a way that I'm not like invested emotionally. But I will finish this up because I am on page 76 and it's not very long. So I'm going to finish this up and I will let you know what I think. Hey, how's it going? I'm about to go into work. I'm here a few minutes early and I have a fun 12-hour shift. Yay! But I did finish the Slob and I just wanted to check in on that. This book would have been probably around 3 stars for me before I got to the ending. So the writing is not great. The story is being told from a very detached perspective. It's almost as if our main character has had to like talk to the police for like and answer the same questions for about 1,000 times, and there's just all emotion is removed. So I found it very hard to be affected by this at all, because it was just like, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. It's not really you don't get to feel what she feels at all. The other thing is that it's not very medically accurate. I understand that these books are probably not going for accuracy, but there is a character that has had her lips like completely cut off, but she's still able to talk, no problem. I also feel like, because this has come up now in another book that I'm reading, I feel like these authors don't understand the female anatomy. I know, shocker, right, ladies? Things are happening that just do not make sense to me, and yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that. But what was the kicker for me was the ending of this book. The ending is super homophobic for no reason. No reason. They introduced characters at the very end that had nothing to do with the story at all. And then they just put like a super homophobic twist on it. They're like, we need to explain why all this happened, and here's the reason why. And it was just so messed up that it brought my rating down to like 2, maybe 1.5 star. I've never rated anything so low. But the writing wasn't great to begin with. The storytelling wasn't great. Yeah, I guess there's some gross moments in there, but I wasn't really affected. But then the ending for me was just, that was the grossest part, was the ending, and it wasn't intentional. So yeah. I also read Talia, and this is a story about a Midwest girl who wants to be an actress. She moves to New York and somehow gets swept up into with the wrong people and ends up in the pornography business. And she's basically doing it because she feels like she can't get out. Oh, sorry, my hand's getting tired. She feels like she can't get out, and also the money's good and she really needs money. Okay, I better wrap this up. But they're increasing in violent nature, and it turns out that she's in snuff films, she finds out, which I didn't think I was gonna like how the direction that this was taking, except something happens and then it becomes a revenge story. And then I really liked that a lot more. So Talia's revenge story, and yeah, she lets them have it. It was great. I'd probably give that one about 3.5 stars. I better get my ass into work right now. So I will check in a bit later. All right, so it's been a few days since I've checked in, and I did read one more book called Woom. I always forget his name, Duncan. I'll put it there. This one is about a man who takes a room at like a kind of scuzzy motel, and he says that this room has some significance to him in his past, and his mom has actually passed away in this room. And he places a call to order an escort for the night. And when she arrives, instead of doing anything sexual in nature, he just is telling her lots of stories. And so these stories end up kind of becoming short stories within this bigger story, and they all come together. They all have some kind of meaning to one person. These stories kind of range. Most of them have body horror of some kind. Definitely look up any trigger warnings with any of these books, really, because they're all there to kind of get a reaction and to trigger you in some way. And when he's done telling all of his stories, we find out why it is he has called this escort to his room and what it is he wants to do with her. And nothing was too shocking to me. A lot of these stories in general, I'm finding kind of rely on bowel movement, horror, I guess. And for me as a healthcare worker, I hear about people's bowels daily. So it's going to take a little bit more than that to gross me out or creep me out. For the most part, I picked this one up after I finished the Slob, and I was like, okay, the writing is much better. You know when you're just reading something that's not written very well, and then the next thing you pick up, you're like, oh my gosh, that last book was even worse than I thought. That's where I was with it. So it was written well. I would say that I'd probably give it 3.5 stars. There was nothing that was super crazy, but it was an entertaining read. It did what it was supposed to do. And but I don't know that it's going to leave like a super lasting impression on me. So overall, my experience with all of this extreme horror, splatterpunk type stuff is that I think because I go into them expecting to be like grossed out or whatever, I am just not affected as much as I would be if this was put into a story that had like a slower build going. So when I read The Girl Next Door by Jack Ketchum, that was a little bit different because we're slow, like we start off with the story and then we slowly ramp up like the amount of horror that we're getting. And there's just this sense of dread, and just that sense of dread that really you're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. You're waiting for what's going to come. When I read Gone to See the Riverman, it was the same thing. So those moments of horror and disgust have a much bigger impact on me than these books that I pick up that are pretty much from cover to cover. Let's see how much we can creep her out or gross her out or horrify her in some way. And it does what it's supposed to do. It's kind of entertaining. It's like watching a B movie, like, you know, a B flick, but it just doesn't have the same effect as if it was those scenes put into a much larger story. So I think for the story aspect, this one was probably my favorite, but it's probably also the longest. It's almost 200 pages. So we have a lot more time to get into the characters. I really liked that there was revenge kills at the beginning. This made it really fun. The same thing with Talia, the revenge is always fun. This one just kind of got to a point where it stopped being about revenge on a certain group of people and just started affecting everybody around them. And it just got really chaotic and gratuitous, and it really just makes sure you desensitize to it. So you're just like, okay, now this is happening and now these people are doing that. And it's just kind of madness. So I think there's a fine line between being entertaining and then just being crazy, and then it just doesn't have the same effect. So it's the same thing with sprinkling these kind of horrific scenes into stories and having a bigger impact, and then over seasoning it and just being like, yeah, I can't taste anything anymore. So is extreme horror for me? I'm still not sure. I would say yes in the right setting. So like Gone to See the Riverman, Girl Next Door, those are the ones that I've read in the past, not realizing they were considered extreme horror. But I think things like this are for fun, kind of just like a silly thing. But I can't see myself being solely into just this. Like I need more. I need more characters, character development. I need to be able to feel something, some compassion or some hatred or something towards the person for me to have that same effect. That said, I did not finish the last 2 books that were on my thing, which were Dead Inside and Chainsaw Hooker. They are on my Kindle and I will be getting to them. This has not turned me off from extreme horror in any way. I still think it's fun. But that said, this is such a small snippet of what's out there, and these are all fairly new releases. These are just things that I've been seeing around on Facebook and Instagram and that kind of thing. So if you have a great extreme horror book that you want me to read, or that you would recommend anybody, I know Exquisite Corpse is one of the ones that's on my list that's a bit older that I want to get to. If there's anything that you recommend, let me know, because I would like to dive in and just kind of get a broader representation of this genre. So overall, I'd say most of the reads were 3.5 star, with the exception of the Slob. That one, the writing was really poor, and we know I didn't like the ending. And it was just a detached way of telling it. Our main villain in that one just didn't even speak. I think he said 3 words in the whole book, which just, I need more. I need more from, you can't just write disgusting sentences and have an impact. I need more context to it. So that is the only one that I wouldn't recommend out of this. There is a Talia 2, which I'll be checking out. And like I said, the other 2 that I haven't read. Thank you for going on this little adventure with me. As always, thank you for watching, and stay spooky.